Yeah, that's right. Yeah, of course. We always begin with the salutations to Adi Shankaracharya and Paramananda. The next slide. Yeah. So just a small recap, because not because we're joining after a long time, it's just that I think this has a connection to 32. When we looked at, verse 31, what that meant was his jiva is different from Ishvara, should not be accepted. That means Ishvara and jiva are one and the same, one conscience. So it basically translates, if you want to come out of this bondage of the mind, you need to be identified with the one consciousness, one reality principle. Now, with this being said, the Vidhan, if you can go to the next slide. Yeah. So verse 32 is this. I'm going to attempt to read it. Nanu sahamkarasya kinchijnasya jivasya nirahankarasya sarvajnasya ishwarasya tattvamasi mahavakyat katam abeda vidyustya ubayoho viruddha dharma kritantavat. It's an attempt. So, yeah. So basically, in 31, the Guru says that you are that consciousness, you are the reality. So in verse 32, the student basically asks in the verse saying that, how can I be the reality? Because I, the jiva, has a mind, we have an ego, and the knowledge is limited to what we know. Whereas Ishvara is the totality. He is reflected consciousness of the whole universe. Of course, he has no ego and he has all the knowledge. So, what the student is asking the Guru is, I have a doubt. How can there be an identity or oneness between two contradictory characteristics as stated in the Mahavakya Tattvamasi? So what I listed here was basically to say that, Jiva has limited power, Ishvara has all power. So this is a doubt, and of course, 33 will clarify on various aspects of this doubt. That's it from me, Bidan. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand. So,
Okay. 33 is me. I'll
right,
share my screen.
isn't it, right? So this query is okay with everyone, understands this a very basic query each one of us have. They say that there is a Mahavakya, which means that the very Atman or consciousness that is behind me and the very consciousness which is outside, I mean, I am God. So it sort of creates a lot of confusion. And this is, I just wanted to comment here. There are various ways by which the knowledge is inferred. What we are learning is Advait. In Advait, what it means is there is no second. Everything is one. But there is also a concept of Dvait, which means God is separate from me.
Okay.
I am a separate individual, and a God is a separate entity in itself. And there is something called a Vishishta Dvait, which means that I am an Amsha of God, which has somewhere got separated from the God, but I am still a part of God. So Advait basically do not infer to the concept of separateness. It's basically it appears to be separate, but actually there is no separation. That is the concept of Advait, and that's what we are learning. But in other philosophies, in Vishishta Dvait and Dvait, they kind of say that same question, that I am a normal human being. How can you tell me that I am God? So this is a context that we need to look at. Is that okay for everyone?
Okay. I'll share my screen, and please let me know if you can see this.
Right. So this is a context that we need to look at. Is that okay for everyone?
Okay. I'll share my screen, and please let me know if you can see this. Okay. I'll share my screen, and please let me know if you can see this. Okay. I'll share my screen, and please let me know if you can see this. Can you see this? Can you
Yes.
see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, fine. So let me start. Salutations to our gurus, Adi Shankaracharya and Swami Paramarthananda. And so the shloka 34 goes like this: Na sthula sukshma sharira abhimani tvam pada vachyartha upadi vinirmuktam samadhi dasha sampannam shuddham chaitanyam tvam pada lakshyartha. So let us understand this now in further detail. So Vachyartha and Lakshyartha, we have to understand what is the meaning of this. So we will look at it. It is one is a superficial meaning versus implied meaning. So let us say I say the word lion, right? So what happens is immediately you get the image of an animal, that is lion, right? So if I were to add this, that is lion, then you know that I am talking about the lion. Now if I were to say he is lion, then you know that I'm not talking about the animal lion, I'm talking about some attribute of an individual. And to give you a very interesting example that I faced recently, some time back, was when I told a group of people saying that so if you were to just hear I burnt my hands, then you would think, okay, I have burnt my hand somewhere. I burnt my hands due to the interaction with him. If I were to say this, someone can think that because of some other person, I have burnt my hands. But actually, what I'm meaning is, I burnt my hands while I was interacting with him means that I suffered some kind of a loss or I had a bad interaction with that person. That is the implied meaning. So there is a difference between a superficial meaning versus an implied meaning. So whatever, when we say superficial, it is what is commonly understood, right? So when we look at some particular word or sentence, we look at the commonly understood meaning. Now if I were to understand in what context something is said, then that becomes an implied meaning. So let us also look at the word upadhi. Bidan had covered it a while back. I am just going to refresh some of those concepts. So upadhi has two constructs around it, which is one is a limiting adjunct, or let's say conditioning, a thing that is added to something or a modification. So it could be a nama, rupa, or vyavahara kind of modification. So you have gold and you have bangles and a necklace or other items made of gold, which are ornaments. So they are modifications made to the basic gold, but they essentially are still gold. So the essence is still the same. It's just that how we have chosen to give the name, form, or the property of it. That is nama, rupa, vyavahara, we can modify, and that is the limiting adjunct. So this is an upadhi. There could be another type of upadhi which is not clinging to the object. That is something that is present near something else and appears to transfer its qualities to that thing. So if you take a plain glass, for example, if I keep it in a blue background, then it appears blue. If I keep it in a brown background, it appears brown. So the color that you are seeing behind it is not a property of the glass, or it has not transferred it to the glass. But when you keep it together or near each other, it appears to have transferred its qualities to the glass. So that is upadhi. Now let's look at three levels of truth. One is pratibhasika satyam, which is an illusory truth. Then you have vyavaharika satyam, which is a transactional truth. And then you have paramarthika satyam, which is your absolute truth. So if you take this elephant example, you can see everyone is feeling the elephant and everyone has an opinion based on the limited vision they have of something, which is illusory. So that is at the level of a jiva, which is actually opinions. So in a rope and snake example, in the analogy of a rope and snake, when we mistake the rope for a snake, the snake enjoys an illusory truth. Then we look at the Vyavaharika Satyam. Here, the elephant exists. At the level of the Ishwara or the Jagat, there is an elephant. So that is a Vyavaharika reality. That is the transactional reality. And then you have the Paramarthika, right? Where we say there is no difference. These things are just manifestations of the material. There is no difference in the underlying reality, which is one Brahman. So these are the three levels of truth. And now let's take both these concepts together and look at what happens. So Upadhi
Asha, can
Vivarta.
you explain it once again, please?
Which one? This elephant one?
Yeah, these three levels of truth. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically it is just a different, we can look at it as different levels, right? So in this case, these are opinions. So you have a perception of something that might or might not be true. That is an illusory truth that is limited to your mind and your perception. So in this case, they're all blind people, right? And they're feeling the elephant. So they all perceive something of the elephant. So that is an illusory truth. When I mistake a rope for a snake, let's say there is a shadow and I see it from a distance and there's a rope hanging from a tree and I think it is a snake, that is my perception of the rope, which is wrong. So that is an illusory truth, right? Why is it illusory? Obviously, it is my illusion. Then you have the
This
next
is
level,
Pratibhasika, is it?
that is pratibhasika.
Okay.
That is illusory satyam, right? Illusory truth. So it is my perception because of whatever the shadow effect and all. I thought the rope was a snake, right? I mistook the rope for a snake. In this case, these are people who are trying to touch and feel the elephant and they all come to their own conclusions. So this is their perception. It is through that filter that you are viewing the elephant. The next one is basically the Vyavaharika Satyam, which is at the level of the world. So actually, in a rope and snake example, it was actually a rope. It was not a snake, right? That rope enjoys a transactional reality. In this case, the elephant is what is there. And this is a reality at the level of the world. So this elephant has a transactional reality of the world, right? At the world level. Transactional, why? Because this is what we use to transact with the world. If you remember, we had a thing about Stula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram, of how they are supposed to be Bhoga Ayatnam, which is the vessel through which you transact with the world. So this is at a transactional level. And then you go back, you go one more level up, which is where we are saying that these are all just names and forms within Maya, and what they are is basically just one, which is Brahman. It is Brahman, that is, it is the appearance of Brahman in these various forms. So it is one Brahman that exists, that is at the Paramarthika level. When I say there is no difference between Atma and Brahman, between me and Brahman, I am at the Paramarthika level. Does that, is that clear, Sahana? Can I go ahead?
I think Sahana's connection is unstable.
Okay, I'll go ahead. So we will look at now superimposing these two constructs, which is upadhi and what we saw in terms of reality that we were just seeing in the terms of the truth, right? Three levels of truth. So vivarta is basically appearance, what we perceive, that is vivarta. So now there are two levels. Paramarthika level, we know what it is, right? We know, we have read all this, which is pure existence, Sat, Chit, Ananda. Now let us look at how that thing appears at the Vyavaharika level. So if you take Sat, which is isness, I am is what is there at the Paramarthika level. But when I translate it to a Vyavaharika level, I become the body. I am identified by the body. I am the body. I am the mind. I am the waker, the dreamer, and the deep sleeper. So all of that are appearances of this existence in the Vyavaharika level. When I look at pure consciousness or chit, which is awareness, all my thoughts that I have, which is good and bad, intelligent and foolish thoughts, everything is at a Vyavaharika level. That is the manifestation. And then you have the bliss. So I would not use the word manifestation, it is the appearance. So pure bliss is Ananda. Now, when we say, we can imagine the pure bliss of Ananda as the sky, and what we are having is clouds in between. So when the pure sky is obscured by the clouds of unhappiness, we cannot see anything. But when the clouds part briefly, we can see the sky, and that is our experience of Ananda. So this is how the upadhis that come at the Vyavaharika level. Upadhis, as we just discussed, are several types of conditionings, which is the conditioning of the Sat Chit Ananda. So now we will go to the meaning of Mahavakya, which is, we have heard the Mahavakya, Tat Tvamasi. And that is where the student has these kind of doubts of how can I, who's limited in so many ways, can be the same as Ishvara, who's unlimited, and the Ishvara has so much of power. How can these two be the same? So the mistake the student is making is, the student is looking at the superficial or the common meaning. Tvam pada vachyartha means whatever is the literal meaning of the word tvam is thula sukshma sharira abhimani. So the student feels that tvam means I identified with my body and the mind, that is tvam. But that is not what the teacher intended to say. That is not what is supposed to be understood by the student, right? So what is supposed to be understood is what is the meaning of, implied meaning of tvam here, which is tvam pada lakshyartha. And that tvam, what is that tvam? That tvam is upadhi vinirmuktam, which is without any upadhis or free from all conditionings, is shuddham chaitanyam, which is pure consciousness, and appreciated. You can appreciate this pure consciousness via samadhi dasha sampannam, which is in a state of deep meditation. So this is what was the implied meaning. But when you misunderstand this and think that I am the body mind, how can I be the same as the Ishvara? How does that even make sense? Now, same example, if you were to take, you can have a water in a drain or a small pot, and that water in the pot and the water in the ocean, the water in the pot can think, how can I be the water in the ocean? The ocean is so vast, right? I don't have any of those attributes. But if you go to the essence, so in the Vyavaharika level, we are not denying that there is a difference. There is a difference in terms of the attributes that you have. But at the Paramarthika level, there is no difference. And that is the mistake the student is making when the student understands the meaning differently. So finally, we have come back to the shloka, and now I hope this shloka is clear, saying stula sukshma sharira abhimani tvam padavachyartha. That means it is just a literal meaning. Upadhi vinirmuktam samadhi dasha sampannam shuddham chaitanyam tvam pada lakshyartha. Yeah, that's that from my end.
Amazing explanation, Hasan. Beautiful. So,
Thank you, Vidya.
Yeah, indeed, very beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Manju.
You made such a complicated stuff so simple, Asha. Thanks for holding this for us.
Sapna, you were my inspiration. I was just going to do 2 slides. And when you said that there were doubts, that is when I actually put effort in it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was so beautiful.
Thank you.
It was beautiful, Asha. Thank you so much for all the explanation.
Thanks, Varsha.
so this is very beautifully put across, Asha. In fact, the way you brought in Upadhi on the basic, which is Sat Chit Ananda, and that kind of basically what Shloka did Anand take, that how can I, so generally I is referred to this body and mind, be Ishvara. How can I be God? So at the level of body and mind, you are not God. And so beautifully you said that because of Upadhi, you start considering yourself. So that's a very nice example that you brought. And I just like to stretch a bit on it. It's very nice, specifically the one that you took an example of water. So if you take some water from the sea into a pot, so the water is limited by the pot. And therefore, water will always think that I am very, how can I be the ocean? Because for the water, the upadhi is pot, isn't it? So for that, then the water becomes that pot water, and therefore, ultimately, you end up believing that you are limited by the pot. And someone says, no, you are the ocean. They say, how can I be the ocean? Ocean is vast. I'm at the level of pot. So because of upadhi, it feels all of us, it feels that since we feel limited in this body and mind, it kind of makes us think that I am separate from Ishvara. And very beautifully, you said in the end that when you go through certain meditations, right, then in those moments you experience expansion, and that very water gets to know its essence, that I am the ocean itself, right? And so when we are looking at the level of water, it's one and the same, but if we are looking at the level of a container, there are two different things. And most of the times we are identified with the container. And this shloka is saying identify with the essence. So nicely you brought it out. I'm very happy with the way it came out. Very nice. Thank you.
Thanks for that.
Great. So, Kaushal, right? We'll go ahead with yours.
Thank you, Asha. That was beautiful.
Thanks, Kaushal.
Sure.
Okay, so salutations to our gurus, Adi Shankaracharya, Swami Paramarthananda, and Bidhan. Okay. All right, so shloka 34. Evam sarvagnatva sarvagna twadi vishishta ishvaraha tatpada vacyarthaha upadhi shunyam shuddha chaitanyam tatpada lakshyarthaha. So also the literal meaning of the word that is the Ishvara, having omniscience, etc. The implied meaning of the word that is the pure awareness, free of all conditionings. So like how Asha in Shloka 33 brought us the difference between like the implied and the literal meaning of the word jiva, right? The same way we are looking at the literal and the implied meaning of Ishvara here. Bidhan, can we go to the next slide, please? So here we can think of Ishvara as in two ways. In a worldly and more superficial and a literal meaning, the idea of God we talk about with someone with noble, superior, and glorious attributes. We all of our namavalis, Ashtottara Nama, Sahasra Nama, all of these, they talk about the glorious attributes of God. They talk about the omnipotence, they talk about omniscience, they talk about omnipresence, all of this, right? All powerful, all knowing, present everywhere at all times. So this is the worldly idea of Ishvara. But again, we have to remember that this worldly idea of Ishvara belongs to the relative plane. As in, again, with upadhis, it is limited. So when you talk about something noble, superior, and glorious, because you are comparing it with something which is ignoble, not superior, and inglorious, which is how, so it becomes a relative thing. So that itself is limiting. Okay. Now the implied meaning of Ishvara is the original absolute consciousness, the Brahman, which is nirguna, without attributes. And here Swami Paramatmananda was also talking about not saying, he said, I wouldn't want to say pure consciousness, because then I would be implying that there is something impure. So I'm going to talk about the original consciousness and the absolute consciousness. There is no second, there is no other. Okay, so when if we could go back to the shloka, please, the previous slide. So we say that, so the literal meaning of that word, and we are talking about the implied meaning of the word. right? So that is what we are understanding by this shloka, that even don't think of Ishvara as just the worldly meaning of it, but also look at it as the Nirguna Brahman. Okay. So from the angle basically of essential nature, like when we had this again, the example of water in the pot and water in the ocean. So when you look at that essential nature from that angle, both Jiva and Ishvara are one and the same. They are Nirguna Brahman. There was another example, I think, which kind of spoke to me. He talked about the movie screen. Okay, so on the movie screen, it doesn't matter, even if it's, it doesn't matter what is being shown. It could be bloodshed and violence, or it could be utopian, unicorns and rainbows and whatnot. The screen transcends both. So the screen remains unaffected by what is there. So that essential nature is Ishvara. That is the implied meaning of that. And at that level, both Ishvara and Jiva are one and the same. So any questions on this before I move on to 34.1? All good? Okay. So,
when you say Ishvara, yeah. So it's nothing but Brahman. The qualities of Brahman is that which is changeless, which is all pervading, which just gives sentiency, doesn't change in any ways. So
yes.
that is what is Ishvara, right?
Yes, that is the implied meaning of that. Yes. In a more worldly sense, we think of Ishvara in terms of maybe having the form of man and, with a lot of attributes and all that. But if we go beyond that, yes, it is Satchit Ananda.
So Ishvara and Brahman both are same?
Yes.
It's just like a Jiva.
Essential nature is the same.
It's micro and macro level. It's something like that, right?
Yes, the macro level is Ishvara, the micro level is
Atma.
Atma, Jiva, but neither one has any independent existence outside of Brahman. Yes?
Come again on that, the last sentence.
Neither Jiva nor Ishvara has an independent existence outside of Brahman.
Yeah.
Yes?
Thank you. Yeah, okay.
Are we good, Sahana?
Yeah, Kaushal. Thank you. Yeah.
So let me continue to 34.1. Next slide, Bidan. Thank you. Okay. So, एवं च जीवेश्वरयोः चैतन्यरूपेण अभेद बाधकाभावः. Thus, there is no contradiction regarding the identity between Jiva and Ishvara from the standpoint of awareness. Okay, so this is basically again summarizing what we have done over the previous two shlokas, where they are saying there is, from the point of essential nature or from the point of awareness, there is no difference between Jiva and Ishvara. Okay. I have a few more some beautiful stuff that Swami Paramatmananda has kind of enumerated on this shloka. So let me just go over that. In this manner, between Jiva and Ishvara, from the standpoint of their essential nature, the sameness is perceived, received, and digested, okay, without emotional resistance and contradiction. So I can just say that aham brahmasmi, right? But this is at a very mental, it's still at the level of the mind. The experience of it is nowhere in any, nowhere in my view, right? So it has to be somehow, where it is. So it is perceived, received, and digested. That bit needs to still happen. So so in Vedanta, there are two stages. The first stage is where religion starts, dasoham. Okay, like I am the dasa, the servant, you are the master. So that's where religion starts. And then you move on to soham, and that is where spirituality is, which is soham is so sa means Ishvara and aham is I. So Ishvara and I are one. So you start at dasoham and you move on to soham. And without this understanding, moksha is not possible. So there was another interesting anecdote in this. In our daily prayers now, again, if there are others in the group who do their daily prayers, please do, jump in. But for me, this was a little new because I'm not used to saying many prayers on a daily basis. But in daily prayers, we have the Sanskrit verse that we say, but probably majority of us don't understand. That is, Deho Devalaya Proktah Jivo Deva Sanatanaha Tyajet Ajnana Nirmalayam Soham Bhavena Pujayat. So the body is the temple, and Jiva, as in the original consciousness. Again, don't think of the Jiva with the upadhis, but think of the Jiva as the original consciousness is the God. And impurity of self-ignorance, you have to help us to remove, which is what we are asking of Ishvara. And the final puja is done with the understanding that I am that, soham. So Dvaita Bhakti should culminate in Advaita Bhakti and Gnana, knowledge. So this was very interesting, where, really, if I'm not sure which part of a prayer this is, but this was also added there. And so we really don't need to go out looking for temples and visiting Kedarnath and whatnot, that the temple is right here, as so close, and God is also here. And with gnana, with knowledge, and removing of that ignorance, we could reach soham. So yeah, any questions on this? The contradiction not being, absolutely no contradiction between Ishvara and Jiva from the standpoint of awareness.
You beautifully explained, Kaushal. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sahana.
Thank you, Kaushal.
Thank you, Asha.
I
Amazing.
think, Kaushal, the way you actually brought out that you start with Dvaita and then move to Advaita is also, in a way, evolution. I think it shows that it's okay to be that set and then you move forward. I think that's also so beautifully captured in what you have.
And in fact, he also reiterated that aham brahmasmi. If it is that if there is still a contradiction and a resistance to that, it is perfectly okay to go back to karma yoga and be on that path
Yes.
until you are, like until that soil and that field is ready for more seeding, right? And it's completely okay. So really, I mean, it was just amazing learning about that. Yeah,
So that's what you said, dasoham to soham, right?
yeah, yeah,
That's
There
brilliant.
was that thing of digestion, right? So I think we are still not
yeah.
in the process of digestion.
Yes, yes. I know. Yeah. And also, he made a very interesting remark, and it made me think that all other religions start with dasoham and end with dasoham. It is only here with the Vedanta that we move to soham. That dasoham is with I am the servant and you are the master. So that, but moving to the soham is something I think that is pretty unique to this particular thinking.
Yeah, I used to think one time that people who are Advaitic masters, right? People who have achieved enlightenment, so why do they still pray? uh, right? I mean, supposed to have been that you've understood that you are all the same, but why do they pray? So it was interesting for me to find that, it's not like you don't appreciate it. So for instance, we know the sky is not blue, and the sky actually is, the particles are reflecting the light, so it's not really blue. But does that make us not appreciate the blue of the sky? But we still appreciate the blue of the sky even though we know it's an illusion, right? So that, and in that respect, very interesting, if you've heard of the Zen proverb, which comes so close, if you've heard of this, and I'll just read it out, saying, before one studies Zen, mountains are mountains and waters are waters. After a first glimpse into the truth of Zen, mountains are no longer mountains and waters are no longer waters. After enlightenment, mountains are again, once again mountains, and water once again waters.
Yeah. Yes. So it is yeah, that is why it's that final puja, right? That is done with that understanding. It is that yes, I am soham. You still do it. So and then yeah.
Yeah.
I
Thanks,
think
Kaushal.
today's session is one of the most important, and it is bringing the summary of the entire sessions that we've been doing, and where we are reaching. It's beautiful to know and understand that while we are limited through our mind and body, uh, but we know that we are all one part of one consciousness. We are one consciousness, and we will still be limited with our thought and mind and body. And we'll be seeing and enjoying the sky as blue and the sea moving in every possible directions. But it's like, I think it's uh, it's sitting well. We don't have to, like, pick one, that I am mind and body or consciousness. We are both, and it's okay. So I think I think that's where my digestive process is going. Not to, like, struggle with it. Just be, accept both is there. I am the consciousness, while I'll have all those limiting factors, and I'll keep on reminding myself that I am the consciousness, and the person sitting in front of me is the reflecting the same consciousness. So it's beautiful. Sometimes I feel that, when we started, like, when the evolution was happening, and then we developed the skills and then the language, and now we have such vast language to understand each and everything. Uh, but we say that it is an evolution. Of course, it has helped us. Like, when we see it, look back, it has helped us evolve and get a lot many things. But it has also distanced us from the consciousness that we actually are, because we are thinking about like, as Asha explained, that when I'm saying lion, then we are thinking we have just one object and one attribute and characteristics. So the attributes and all the Nama Rupa came from that language a lot, I feel. I don't know, just to,
Yeah. So for me, right, when that would again be on this plane where we are limited by space and time.
yeah,
But in the plane of Brahman, it is, uh, no time, no space. It just is. So I think it's okay, and I feel like Ishvara. If we look at it, I'm thinking is super patient. It's billions of years,
then
solar system formed, evolution happened. Let's take it. It's just going, and
then
I think that it's wonderful to just be. So yeah, and I think Devesh had a. I saw the arm, the hand up.
Yeah, no, thanks, Kaushal, and very, very, very well explained and quite, yeah, profound. So, and then as you said, right, billions of years and all those things, and the Ishwar or the Brahman is there observing it happening again and again. So that's the
Yes.
amazing part, yes. And I just wanted to tell one anecdote, which kind of is exactly what you and Asha talked about, right? It's a conversation between Bhagwan Ram and Hanumanji. I think you must have heard it as well. That Ramji once asked Hanumanji, "Who are you?" So what Hanumanji responded is, "Deha drishtya tu dasoham, jiva drishtya tvadan shatah, atma drishtya tvame vahmiti me nishchitamati." I think you might have heard about it. I'm not sure, but it translates to, "Hey Bhagwan, जब मैं अपने आप को शरीर के साथ पहचानता हूँ, when I identify myself with my body and mind, I am your das, and you are my master. When I identify myself as Atma, then I am your part, kind of a Vishishta Dvait. And when I identify myself as my true self, then I am you or you are me. There's no difference. So, and on that says that is my firm conviction.
Amazing.
So that he explains it across the board, because if Ramji has asked a question, then it has to have that substance, and then he thinks and responds in that way, which is quite amazing.
Yeah. Thank you, Devesh. That was beautiful.
What a nice example to bring on a Ram Navami day today.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The context was very right. So, yeah.
So amazing work, Kaushal. We could see there's so much of work that has gone in for today's presentation. And it's very nice to see the kind of clarity everybody is bringing out. And the way the presentation is flowing. I mean, I can see that it's like it's just coming out. There's some sense of understanding that we talk about. It is setting in. It is so clear. It is moving from just merely intellectual knowledge. Some sort of understanding seems to be now seeping, and therefore we are seeing that we're able to articulate it in this fashion. Otherwise, it's not possible to articulate in this fashion. So I'll just kind of bring out a couple of points here, because I do feel that there is always a confusion between Brahman, Ishvara, and Jiva. We sort of get confused. Sometimes Brahman is used as Ishvara, and we kind of start feeling a little uncomfortable that technically these two things are different, but you'll end up seeing that the word Ishvara is sometimes used as Brahman, sometimes Brahman is used as Ishvara, sometimes Ishvara seems like Paramatma, and it kind of creates a certain amount of a confusion. And I can see from the questions when it comes from. So I will just try and explain this in three different ways. See, what happens is when these kind of shlokas are written, specifically when you refer to Bhagavad Gita, you will find the same word is used from a multiple perspective. So the word Dehi may be sometimes used for Sthula Sharira, for sometimes universal consciousness, which is Brahman. Sometimes the word Atma is used for the body. So it kind of becomes very confusing at times to literally take the word and try and fix it into the shloka, right? So that's something that we should be a little aware of. Now, coming from where both Asha and Kaushal was coming, so maybe we can use this example. So there is an ocean. The ocean has filled with water, large pool of water, right? When we take a small pool of water into a tank or into a pot, that water gets transferred into a pot, right? So that pot water can be considered as a jiva, right? The combination of pot and water can be considered as jiva. The combination of the ocean and water can be considered as Ishwara. So Ishwara is huge, big, all-pervading, and jiva is limited. So, but Ishwara also has an upadhi, if you see, isn't it? Even the ocean is limited by the land around it, correct? And similarly, the pot water also has an upadhi. It is limited by the pot, correct? So Ishwara and jiva, the ocean and pot water. But when you look at water, the essence, that is Brahman, right? So the water has certain qualities, 3 qualities. I think Kaushal did mention about water a bit. First of all, it has a unique taste. It has fluidity. It has certain amount of coolness. So this quality of water will be expressed both in the ocean, and it will be same quality of water will be expressed when it is the same water which is taken from the ocean into a pot. So at the level of water, the properties of water is the same. So whether the Brahman which is experiencing or reflecting or expressing itself through an ocean, through Ishwara, is Sat Chit Ananda, and same Brahman which is expressing through this body is also Sat Chit Ananda. It's like the same water which is there inside a pot and the same water which is there inside the ocean. So does it make sense? So Ishwara, Jiva, and Brahman.
So when you say Jiva, it's an individual. When you say Ishvara, it is universe.
Is the entire cosmos.
Yeah.
Right? So there is something called Virat. Virat is basically the entire cosmic physical form. Just like you have a sthula shariram, the physical form, Virat is the entire universal physical. Plus you have Sukshma Sharira, that is your mind and Karmendriyanis and all of it that we have learned. There are 18 or 19 aspects that we have spoken about. The Sukshma Sharira, which is behind the gross body. So that is Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is the subtle aspect of the entire universe. That is the cosmic settled form. That is cosmic mind, right? And similarly, since we have one more which is called Karana Sharira, a point from where everything comes up. For the universal, the Karana Sharira is Maya. Correct? So if you put Maya, Hiranyagarbha, and Virat put together, you can call it that which kind of expresses consciousness expressing through this medium is Ishvara, or you can even call it Paramatma. See, again, I'm trying to tell you is, again, sometimes you will see Ishvara is a word which is used for Brahman with Maya in its potential form. They say that Ishvara becomes Paramatma. So that Brahman with Maya in its potential form becomes universe. So sometimes these technical words are used, but we should not get too bogged down by it. It's okay. Till the time we are getting the essence in place. All right, so we sort of did an amazing work today. And also I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to each one of you for your contributions for Thome, as well as for the place where we had that Swarnamukhi Ashram, which is doing a noble job for educating the children over there. Thank you so much for making this happen. My heartfelt thanks to each one of you for this. Thank you. Okay. Right. Is there anything else that we have to discuss, or we can do our prayers, right? Perfect. So let's do the
I
prayers and then.
think, Vidya, next week you're not there, right? So
Oh yeah. I have a request. Next week I am on travel on a vacation. Is it possible for you still to have this meeting or have this session? It will be nice to do it.
Now we will also take off.
No, but that's what not the point is. Why don't we just try this? Let's try this.
Sure. I think we should try it.
We should try this. Perfect. So I'll assign the shlokas and we'll just find the way to do the logistics and everything. But let's make it happen. This process do not get stopped. Thank you so much. All right, let's do up to this. Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you so much for such a wonderful evening on auspicious day of Ramadan. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Bidan. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
This